What's going on, YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Titans Beast World issue number 6. This is the final part of this event. Now, overall consensus, I did think Beast World was an improvement over Night Terrors. Granted, I didn't read all the tie-ins because I didn't feel like it was absolutely necessary, and I was right. So I may just start doing that from now on. I'll just read the main issue stuff. I've heard like a lot of the tie-ins just didn't really add much to the events. I'm sure they'll be on the DC app at some point, so I could just kind of check them out then if I really want to say I read the entire event. But in terms of the main 6 issues, there's some good aspects to it for sure. I think the artwork done by multiple artists here. You had Ivan Reis, Lucas Meyer, who I think is taking over as the main Titans artist, which is a good thing. And then I think it's Pansika, I can't remember the first name, but the credits are at the end of the issue. So there are some good aspects to it. I also feel like some bits of it were kind of underwhelming and kind of leaves me questioning some things. And I do think this event would have been stronger if it had some more kind of lasting stakes and if they're willing to kind of go the extra mile. Like if this were like DC's Tom Taylor, I feel like he kind of would have done that. So I don't know if it's so much him or if it's editorial, but things it's just like for instance, I said earlier on that there's no way Beast Boy's dead in this thing. And now based on the ending, in some ways I feel like they've kind of made him a little bit OP and kind of like unkillable in kind of a way, because when you go back to Dark Crisis, they've been kind of teasing killing off Beast Boy and a lot of these like major events in recent memory. Dark Crisis gets shot in the head, loses an eye, and it somehow just magically kind of grows back, and there are no lasting stakes to that whatsoever. He's totally fine. This issue becomes Garo, splits off into a million pieces, and now somehow is totally fine by the end of it, because earlier on the big part of his arm like split off and the Garo spores and all that, and like now he's pretty much a god at this point. Like Beast Boy is unable to die in some ways, so anytime he's put in a risky situation, you just know there's no way. I mean, Beast Boy survived all this stuff, so he's totally going to be fine. So yeah, that's kind of some issues I have with it. I feel like it would have had more lasting stakes had they actually killed off his character. And it's not that I don't dislike Beast Boy, I do like him as a character, but if you want any of these events to have more weight to them, you gotta sometimes maybe do something to kind of give it some lasting stakes. This is like the second major event in recent memory where they had it to where Gar was seemingly going to be the one to get offed, and they don't really have lasting consequences. Now we'll have to wait and see what some of the fallout of this is, but he seems to kind of be okay by the end of this thing, and I think it would have had more of an emotional impact if they'd actually gone through with it, had that sacrifice, and you really get to feel the sense of loss to it. So, but yeah, so as we found out in the last issue, let's quickly summarize what happens. And like I said, the artwork by the 3 artists looks great with each subsequent issue, if you will. So Peacemaker, of course, got his ass handed to him by Nightwing. Amanda Waller was there. We had Raven versus the Dark Evil half, who turned out to be Dr. Hate, and she has the helmet of hate or whatever, the Lords of Chaos or whatever. It was all the way back in those seemingly kind of meaningless detoured issues of Nightwing, if you remember those I covered, where they went to hell and Raven was having some issues. I actually totally forgot about those things because a lot of that run has kind of gotten forgettable, and it feels like we've been taking a lot of detours. But it's, like I said, it was there for a reason, I guess, so they actually followed up on something there. So Raven tries to do her thing, and now their plan is to, obviously because Amanda Waller wanted to commit some drone strikes on all the people who were infected by the Garo spores. So Nightwing had kind of put an end to that, and their goal is to kind of get somebody really powerful to kind of draw out all the Garo spores, and then they're going to destroy the Garo spores, if you will, to save the other people. But then we come to find out later on that those are the remaining portions of Gar, so they need to now take the Garo spores and kind of mold them into one thing. So all the heroes around the world are doing their thing. Nightwing also meets the president, and as a means to get him to trust him, he's willing to give away his secret identity, completely defeating the purpose of one of these heroes just to kind of look cool, I guess. Come on, Dick. I get there's all this stuff going on, but you're putting a lot of people in danger by revealing yourself to him. I remember when Superman gave away his secret identity and all the consequences that happen with that. You're a superhero. Keep your identity a secret, especially from the president, who is pretty clueless in this comic book in some ways. I mean, it's very obvious what Amanda Waller was doing was bad. I mean, he kind of mentions that to her, and they end up saving the First Lady, and then he kind of gives her the resources necessary, even though the sovereignty people or whatever who were under Waller's control are there and are like, hey, we have all this power to do all this stuff. And then John just kind of stops them, and then you can see them ultimately helping all these different people. So as we saw established the last issue, Amanda Waller made a whole public statement about what they had to do to all these infected people. But now, as we can see, clearly they're all being cured thanks to the Garo spores, like leaving their bodies and such. So this should paint Amanda Waller as the villain in the public eye and also to the president. But as we come to find out later on, Amanda Waller is totally okay. Like I said, we'll see in a second. But anyway, so they're able to free the Garo spores. Dark Raven is seemingly defeated. I mean, the helmet of fate or of hate or whatever it's called gets thrown into like a volcanic lava, and like I said, they're able to kind of stop them, and Gar is able to kind of reform a bit from where he was at before. And then, like I said, Raven seemingly trapped her demonic self into the crystal once again. But as we come to find out later on the issue, they gave us the Alien Covenant type ending. So also, Amanda Waller reestablishes like the Hall of Justice as the Hall of Order. Now, keep in mind, this is the same lady who publicly said they were going to drone strike and kill millions of people on TV. With the whole thing, but as the Justice, or the Titans, if you will, who took charge to save all those people's lives, why isn't there any major backlash to this lady? And even to the president, who just got all this information from Nightwing about her having orchestrated the whole thing. Like, why is she out here in the public? Why is there no outcry for, like, lady, you were just ordering a drone strike on all these people, but the Titans clearly showed that they could save you and all that. And she's like, see, the superheroes are the real villains. And yeah, I mean, there's some instances where it's like, okay, they have the power to kind of take over governments and all that, but at the same time, like, where's the president? Like, why isn't he out there saying, hey, whoa, I actually worked with the Titans to kind of do this stuff, if you will, and Amanda Waller's crazy or something like that. She literally, in the last issue, publicly says she's going to drone strike all these people, and then there's no, hey, in this instance, the Titans were good, but look at how dangerous they really are. Like, where's the outcry? Like, lady, like, my family would have been killed in those things. Like, why are we listening to you? You were clearly wrong about something. Like, you're one to talk. The heroes ended up saving the day. So, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't really, like, help her look, if you will. So, also, the way they kind of got Gar's memory back, because, like, when all the spores kind of formed together and he molded, like he's Majin Buu or something, all his pieces kind of molded into one thing. They used the other part of him that was kind of split apart earlier on in the series to kind of reform his memories and all that, because there was a large chunk of him that kind of came back, and Raven's like, oh, Gar, you're back and okay, but is that really Raven? Dun, dun, dun. So we come to find out that the real Raven is trapped in the crystal, while the dark evil Raven is on the outside. So again, this is kind of like Alien Covenant in a way, if you've ever seen that movie, where Fassbender played the two androids. So you had David and you had Walter, and everyone thought Walter was there, but there was kind of that little moment where stuff happened off screen. And like, so David has now taken the place of this, and everyone's kind of in a bad state, and we're never going to follow up to that in any movies probably, but that's getting off track. But anyways, Gar is back, totally fine. He reforms like he's Majin Buu, with all his pieces kind of coming back together. And yeah, so Beast Boy is pretty much immortal, I think we've established at this point. I mean, he takes a gunshot to the head, totally fine. Supposedly dies later on, splits off into millions of pieces, comes back together, totally fine. Even reforms his own clothes. He is basically a god at this point. And I don't think, like, anytime he's under, like, sense of danger, I'm not going to buy it. Like, he literally turned to planet size and he reformed just fine. Where does the rest of him kind of disappear to? And anytime they kind of put him in a dangerous situation, I'm not going to really feel any stakes for him anymore, because look at this. He survived two, like, major events back to back. No problems whatsoever. He's probably going to be back to normal, and everything's kind of wrapped itself up, like, rather easily. Yeah, there's still a few kind of interesting aspects, like I said, with, you know, the Titans and, like, their means to kind of take over, like, government drones and all that too, and I'm sure that's going to play a factor in this run. But also, why would anybody listen to Amanda Waller after what she just publicly said what she was going to do? Like, who's going to listen to this crazy psycho lady? It just, for me, it just, like, it feels a little bit off in that way. But yeah, so I do feel like things wrapped up rather easily. I would have liked some more lasting stakes in this event. Like I said, I still think killing off Gar would have been probably, like, given it that weight to the event, but, like, as it stands, we just did all this stuff and we're almost kind of back to the status quo. I mean, like, Amanda Waller is out in the public now in a way, and now we have dark evil Raven taking the place of, you know, good wholesome Raven, with, you know, the real Raven kind of trapped in the crystal self, and she's gonna be, like, kind of like pretending that she's somebody she's not. So there is potential for something kind of interesting in that regards with, the Raven in disguise, if you will. But and like I said, this is not me disliking Beast Boy as a character. I just think the selfless nature of himself, kind of like giving it his all for everyone, would have given it the more emotional hook. And I'll give another example of another Tom Taylor story that did this, and it's Deceased. Like, the final DC storyline has Damian giving his life, like, at the very end to save the universe. And now it's kind of sad to lose that character, but it was a very selfless moment. It was like the I Am Iron Man moment in Avengers Endgame. And like I said, his story kind of came full circle there. Like, he turned out to be like gave like the most selfless act you could to save the universe. And I think that would have been really good for Gar's character and a nice bit of conclusion there. But obviously, they're not going to do that in this universe. They don't really have like the guts, I guess. But then again, like, DC killed off Alfred too, and that's actually had some lasting consequences. And as much as I miss Alfred and things, I feel like it at least gave it some stakes that he hasn't come back in a way. And yeah, like I said, I do miss him, but I'm glad they've at least let the consequences stick with that. And I think it would have like really given it the story a more emotionally, like, it would have made it a little bit more emotional. You would have felt the impact more if Gar like had legit sacrificed himself for everyone and didn't necessarily come back. Now, not to say that like every character needs to die in like these types of events, but I want a little bit more weight to some of them, because DC's had so many big events in recent memory, and none of them really felt like they had so much weight to them. Like, Night Terror's kind of a waste of time, let's be honest. That was like 40-something issues, and ultimately most of them were kind of pointless for the events. Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths didn't really like feel like it had the big lasting impact. What was it? Batman versus Robin and the whole Lazarus Planet stuff. There were some kind of consequences to that, and a few things kind of changed, but I mean, the event didn't deliver as much as it kind of could have. And then Beast World's kind of the same deal, because there were aspects I did like about it for sure. Like I said, there's some good looking artwork and all that other stuff. It's the reveal of Dr. Hate as like the evil half of Raven. I feel like that could have been a little bit stronger. Like, do we really need Raven as Dr. Hate? You could have probably just made a new character out of that. Otherwise, like you know what I mean? Like I said, things kind of wrap up a little bit easily and kind of convenient in some ways. Now, Raven, the evil Raven, if you will, is now going to be like kind of working closely with Amanda Waller, I'm assuming. So that could potentially lead to something interesting. But like I said, I would have liked a little bit more weight to the events. And I think, like I said, they probably should have killed off Beast Boy, because now, given all the stuff he's survived and kind of recovered in some ways, I don't think there's a way to kill this character at this point. I feel like he kind of is immortal at this point. I mean, he literally turned to a planet-sized Garo, and now he's totally fine, and all of a sudden he can boost his intelligence, like by changing like size, if you will, which again, without actually studying, like, he just kind of knows everything somehow. That just kind of confused me a little bit. So I don't know. What did you think of Beast World? I think some people may have liked it a little bit more, and others weren't really too positive on it. I think a lot of people were just kind of fatigued from various DC events, myself included. Now, I don't mind events every once in a while, but they've kind of done so many back to back that it feels kind of like tiresome at this point. Like, do we need all these tie-ins that don't really add up to things? If you're going to do something, like, do like little mini-series things. Like, if Beast World was just kind of the main 6 issues, or maybe a few Titans tie-ins, like just the Tom Taylor stuff that he's writing, probably would have been better off, as opposed to having like Beast World Star City, Beast World this, Beast World that. Because a lot of those other smaller things, they're just kind of filler stuff. It's kind of like Lazarus Planet, a bunch of filler stuff. Dark Crisis, so many filler stuff, and a lot of the stuff wasn't very good. I just feel like we don't need too many events. Now, I think like the next event's going to be a Superman-focused one, but that seems to just be in the Superman book, so I'm kind of okay with that. But we need a little bit of a breather, if you will, from these types of events, I feel like. So, yeah, I mean, Beast World's overall consensus, I do think it was better than Night Terrors, and probably a little bit better than Dark Crisis, but it really could have gone a little... I think it had the potential to be a lot stronger if it actually had, like, you know, some guts and kind of some real, like, what you feel like are some lasting stakes, if you will. So we'll see, like, kind of what story threads they kind of pick up for this stuff. And the Justice League taking a backseat to the Titans, I don't know. I feel like the Justice League should still be around. I don't know why they would disband. And I mean, if you want the Titans to kind of take charge a little bit, okay, I get that, but why aren't we getting rid of the Justice League entirely in some ways? So I don't know, there's just a few like questions I have for this thing. I think it could have been a lot stronger had they gone the extra mile. But as it stands, like this issue itself, I think is all right. There's some good aspects to it for sure. A few questionable things, but I think we could do a little bit better. And after this, I think we need a nice little event break for right now, because I feel like we've just had too many. So, but it is what it is. So what did you all think of Titans Beast World? Post your comments down below. I'd be curious to know what everyone thought of it, because like I said, I've talked to other people and I've heard some kind of mixed responses overall, but I mean, that's going to be the case sometimes. I know some people liked it, some people disliked it. What did you think would have made the event better or whatnot? So I'd be kind of curious to know. So yeah, and if you've been listening to me rambling on for this long, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I got 2 more comic book reviews. I'm gonna get one out today, and then I'll probably get one out tomorrow, and we'll go from there. So all right, well, that's all I have to say. As always, take care now, bye bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.